What's going on, y'all? It's Tatum. I told you guys that I would give an articulable explanation as to what I feel about the shooting in Mesa, Arizona, where the officer was acquitted for second-degree murder. Now, I'm just going to start right out with this, and you'll see it on the loop. Being a police officer for 6 years, I was also a member of the SWAT team for the Tucson Police Department. I am telling you right now, as sure as I'm sitting here today, I'm not shocked after looking at the video that the man was not convicted of second-degree murder, which is intentional murder without premeditation. Now, I'll preface it with this. Do I believe that they could have used better tactics? Yes. Do I believe that there was a way in which they could have handled it? Maybe the guy could have given slightly different instructions? Yes. But because of the scenario and what that young man did, the actions that he took necessitated a response from the police department. And because obviously they did not have less lethal, they did not have anything like that, then that's what occurred. So let me give you a background. So for all of you guys who have no idea about being a police officer, have no idea what you're talking about, you've never been in that situation, you never even had a gun and even had to think about shooting somebody, let me articulate this for you. First of all, the police were responding to a man with a rifle at a hotel. The people who were downstairs in the pool had reported that there was a guy in the window with a rifle. That necessitates police to respond. The first thought as a police officer, you're not going to respond with a beanbag gun if a person has a rifle. That is a quick way for you to die. Now, just based on the tactics, just based on the equipment, based on the verbiage that they were using, this appeared to possibly be a SWAT team or a tactical team. Now, when they get to the location, the young lady runs out. They stop her in the hallway. They stop him in the hallway. He's laying down, face down. For all intents and purposes, a police officer is under the impression that this guy could be armed and dangerous. There is no reason for a human being with logical common sense to be pointing a rifle out of a window. At no point in time did that sound legitimate. So any police officer going to this call is going to be on high alert. They get there, they give the girl instructions. Then they give the young man instructions. I believe just listening to it, they gave him clear instructions and they gave him multiple chances without shooting him initially, because there's no reason in the world he should be putting his hands behind his back at any point in time during this confrontation. Yet and still he did anyway. They gave him chance after chance. He then gets down the hallway. No matter if you disagree with the instructions or not, at some point in time, he was following the instructions. He was crawling with his hands visible. He was crawling towards the officers as they requested of him. Then, for some reason that I don't know, I wasn't even expecting this to happen. For some reason, he turns and reaches his entire body back, reaches one hand behind his back, and he got shot. There is nobody in America that has ever been on a police department that can argue that this man did not present himself as a threat by reaching backwards after following the instructions. Now, there are people who I don't care if you argue about the instructions. You can say, oh, they gave this, they gave that. That ain't you, and you wasn't there, and you don't know what you would do. You don't know what policy they have. Regardless, at one point, the kid was following the instructions that they gave him. It's not hard to say, with your hands out, crawl towards me. That's the only instruction that matters at this point. He was actively doing that. And then he turned and put his hands behind his back. What do you think I was watching that video wondering, what was he doing? Now, he got shot. Justified. I think that they could have used different tactics. Someone brought up tactics talking about they should have went and approached him and handcuffed him. You never, if you are a police officer and you're saying that they should have approached him and handcuffed him in the middle of that hallway, I really have some words for you. You don't understand tactics at all. You never, in the history of tactics, do you tell a man to get on his face, on his knees, cross his legs, and then you approach the fatal funnel and try to handcuff him in an unknown area. Not one time did they clear the apartment building. They don't know if somebody's in it. They don't know if somebody's going to come out of it. So you call that person to you. You throw them off of their OODA loop. You make them follow directions. You make them move. You make them react. You make them think. Because if they want to kill you, they can't think about their plan and think about you giving them directions at the same time. So you give them directions. You make them walk to you. You hold your position and you hold cover. There is no reason for law enforcement to walk over to this man and try to handcuff him without even clearing the units that he was sitting in front of. If there's a man or two or three or four people in that hotel room with guns and you get caught with your pants down because you're trying to handcuff somebody in the threshold, you're going to get gunned down. Beyond that, justified. Tactics could have been better. I think that they could have slowed down a little bit more and they could, and this is me saying after the fact, I wasn't even there, but they could have slowed down maybe a little bit. They could have already organized who was going to give instructions to who wasn't. It seemed like he was a little confused on whether he wanted to have the hands up, cross the legs, crawl. It could have been clearer instructions. But other than that, you're talking about intentionally murdering somebody. That did not occur. Is there a reasonable doubt to believe that that officer really feared that he pulled a gun? Yes. Anybody who got common sense can see that that guy went and reached behind him for something. You don't have time to figure out if he's reaching for a candy bar or reaching for his pants. Because if he pull a gun out, people are going to get shot. All this could have been prevented if he would have just followed instructions. All this could have been prevented if he had just crawled instead of putting his hand behind his back. Unfortunately, he died as a result. And I will challenge anybody who want to disagree with me to come on my live feed right now and you explain to the public, since you know what you're talking about and you have tactical experience and or you just know what you're talking about, come on to the news feed. I'll put you right in and I want you to explain to the people who are watching this why this was a bad shooting. The man didn't go to court on tactics. That is a whole nother story. What tactics they could or couldn't have used or should have used. That's a whole nother story. What's being presented as we speak today is whether or not this is second-degree murder. And not one person can argue with me that this was not justified. And somebody say, let me give you the ignorant excuses that I'm hearing that just ticks me out beyond reason. He was drunk. That doesn't matter. Almost every person that I'm involved in that ended up being a serious incident were drunk. Do you get a pass because you drunk? If you cannot follow directions because you too intoxicated, am I supposed to just not say nothing to you and let you lay on your face? This ain't about being easy for you. You had no business pointing a rifle outside of your window, necessitating police response. I don't care if it became a pellet gun at the end of the day. It does not matter. The police don't know if it's a rifle or not. How are they supposed to know that this is not a real gun when the reports came in that this guy's pointing a rifle? Come on, somebody come on to the feed and you get on here and you tell everybody why this is not a justified shooting. I don't care if you're scared and confused. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. Follow instructions. That's why the guy said, shut up and follow my instructions carefully. He put his hands behind his back the first time. He said, if you put your hands on your waistband, we will shoot you. I don't care how drunk you are. You heard what the man said. This ain't a game. This is not playtime. This is life and death. You follow instructions. If you don't follow instructions, he told him, you put your hand on your waistband, you get shot. What did he do? He followed instructions. He reached for his waistband. He got shot. I don't know what else to tell you. And for people who are watching this who are not police officers, oh, he shot him 5 times. What are you talking about? You'd have no idea what you're talking about. You shoot a person till the threat is eliminated. That's it. He went limp after 5 shots. He's no longer a threat. Period. I have a lot of people that said that they disagree with me. Come on to the feed and we can have a conversation about this, because you have no business getting intoxicated and pointing a simulated rifle outside of your hotel room. That won't happen to you. People are confused about instructions. If you're confused about instructions, I want you to come on here and tell me verbatim what instructions you would give a person in that situation. You have no idea what you're talking about. You have no idea what those officers have been trained. Now, we have been trained to say certain things time and time again when we do high-risk stops. Most of the time, we say it again. We say it over and over and over. We give the same instructions. Some instructions can be dynamic. You cannot simulate in the academy some fool in a hallway, drunk as a skunk, not listening to your commands. And you don't know if he has a gun or he does not. And for everybody saying, well, he don't have a gun or he didn't know he had a gun. Well, officers die because they don't know people have guns. Officers die because they take split second to say, well, is it a gun or not? Or is he going to pull it on me or not? And boom, you're dead. If you are not a police officer and the police officer tell you to do something, you follow instructions. And if you're just now joining this and you don't know the story, we're talking about the Mesa police officer who was acquitted of murder, of second-degree murder. If you don't know the story and you haven't read how the police officer and why the police officer responded to their location, then you shouldn't even be on this news feed making any comments. You shouldn't make any comments about it. You go read the story first, and then you can make a synopsis. At my show, on my show later today at 4:30 Central Time, not 4:30 Central Time, 4:30 Mountain Time, we're going to go through a detailed diagnosis of that video. And we're going to also talk about real more if y'all didn't see that video. But that's it. I don't know what to tell you. If what you saw in that video troubles you, you need to get out of the box. If you are troubled by what you saw in that video, you may need to do a ride along with a police officer. If you are confused as to why that man got shot, you should probably go through the simulator with a local law enforcement agency. And you tell me if you would have shot him or not. See, because when you're sitting behind the camera, you don't really die at the end of this. When you armchair quarterbacking, you don't feel the emotion. You don't feel the energy. You don't feel the momentum. When you are addressing a threat that could potentially end your life. When you are giving instructions to a person who isn't cooperating, and you don't know if it's 5 or 6 men in the room waiting to ambush you. You don't know what that feel like. So yeah, you can say, they should have said this. They should have been patient with him. They should have known he was drunk. There's so much other stuff going on. There's so many pictures in the police officer's mind that there's no way in the world, unless you were right there, for you to know exactly what they were doing and why they were doing it. You can say all you want. They should have gave him this instruction, this instruction, this instruction. But if for 20 years you've been taught to give instructions this certain way, when the situation presents itself, you're going to give instructions the way you've been taught. Now, if you guys have a problem with the instructions, then that is a training. That is something that needs to be trained to the police department. That is something that they need to go to the police department and say, y'all need to do better training on how you handle high-risk situations. Other than that, the shooting was justified. More than likely, I would have shot that kid. Now, some people say they should have had K9. They should have did all this other stuff. That stuff may not have been available. How do you know? I'm sure if they had K9 available, the K9 officer would have been there. But at the end of the day, why do you need a K9 if you got a person with a rifle? He gonna shoot the K9 and shoot you. Now, I would argue that you would have one on standby and slow the situation down once you realize, okay, he's face down on the ground. Let's get the K9 unit up. We got the hallway held. If he do something stupid, he gets shot. If somebody come out of this room, don't follow commands with a gun in their hand, they're probably going to get shot. We have this hallway secured. Let's get the K9 unit up in case he pulls out a knife or he pulls out something other than a gun. We can send a dog on him, and then we can go from there. That could be a valuable option. But They may not have had that available. And you're not going to wait 40 hours to get a K9 unit, or, reasonably, you're not going to wait 2 or 3 hours to get a K9 unit if the person is off shift. It's not going to happen. So people say they should have shot him with a taser. Now, let me say this. If you are saying that they should have used a taser when this guy has a threat of being armed and dangerous, I want you to, right now, I want you to turn off this news feed and I want you to go read a book. A taser don't work most of the time. In 6 years of being a police officer, I have never deployed my taser. I took that thing off and I let it go. I don't want a taser. That thing will fail on you. If a person pull a gun and you pull a taser, you die. End the story. If a person pull a knife and you pull a taser and it do not deploy properly, you get stabbed. When you shoot somebody, that does not fail. When you shoot center mass, there ain't no failure. Well, there's a potential that your gun could jam, but more than likely, the gun will jam less than a taser will malfunction. I tell you that. I had never used a taser, and if I go back to the police department, I never want to carry one of them things. They are not effective. They are not effective in a lot of situations. If a person has baggy clothing, it's not effective. If the thing don't get the right spread, it won't lock a person's body up. They'll still be able to function. That's why you see people pulling out taser cartridges. They're pulling out the taser probes. Because if you don't get the right connection, it does nothing. You don't get the right spread, it just stings. It's too many components in a taser for me to be relying on the taser when somebody could potentially have a gun. You don't bring a taser to a gunfight. If you do, you die. Period. They don't have tasers in Afghanistan. Tell the military to take tasers out and tase the Afghani troops. They ain't tasing nobody. They shooting them. Okay. If this stuff bothers you and you feel like, oh, poor guy, you are living in a false sense of reality. I hate that this happened to him. I wish that he would have followed instructions. I don't know what he was thinking when the man say, I'm going to shoot you if you put your hands on your waistband, and he put his hands on his waistband. I don't understand what he was thinking. If he was too drunk to be cognitive, I feel bad for him. But I do not feel bad, and I do not feel like that officer should go to jail because this dude put his hands behind his back against commands. If somebody tell me, Brandon, if you scratch your eyelid, I'm going to shoot you. I'm going to tell you one place my hand won't even come near. It's my eyelid. If my eyelid is itching, my eyelid will hit the ground and I'll rub it on the ground. I'm not putting my hand towards my eyelid because that man with that rifle said that if I do this, he going to shoot me. I don't care how drunk I am. That is a sobering moment for me. You will die. Wait a minute. I'm not going to die. I'm not putting my hand behind my back. If I fall, I'm just going to fall on my face. Just like he said, if you fall on your face. Okay. I want to have somebody on here and then I'm going to lunch. If you disagree with what I'm saying, I want you to come on here and articulate to the people why you disagree with what I'm saying. I have one brave soul that want to come on. I get sick of hearing, as a police officer, I get sick of hearing people attempt to articulate stuff, especially when they don't know what they're talking about. Now, if you know what you're talking about, let's have a good debate. But if you don't know what you're talking about, it's just people don't understand what goes into these situations. I've been there. I've been there. A man with a rifle. It has just gotten real. You know what I'm saying? It has just gotten real. There ain't no, what if it's a pellet gun? It's like, no, they said it's a rifle. I'm going to treat this as if this person has a rifle. No reasonable person would be pointing a rifle outside of their hotel room. So this person could be possibly either trying to do a mass shooting. Somebody could have thwarted a crime. When we get to the door, they may shoot and kill all of us. That's the route I'm going. As I get further information, we may de-escalate. But until then, this man is a person who's who's carrying around, right? Okay, Donald wants to come on. I invited the last person. Somehow their connection didn't go through. So if you see I'm inviting you, make sure your connection go through. If not, redo it and I'll try it again. Follow instructions. If you're too drunk to follow instructions, that is an unfortunate situation. That is not the police's fault that you're too drunk to follow his instruction. You don't have a chance to say, well, I invited Donald on and he declined. Okay, who next? It's going to be very, very hard to argue that if you're not a police officer, because you're going to have to know tactics. You're going to have to know police response. You're going to have to know a lot of stuff. And if you don't know that, you're going to lose an argument. It's not the police fault that it's a pellet gun and that you pointing the gun out somewhere. It's not the police fault that you're too drunk to realize what's going on. That's not the police officer's fault. You don't get to use an excuse. I was too drunk to listen to his directions.
He might have been drunk, and that's probably why he stuck the gun up him.
It could have been.
Yeah.
Which when you're drunk, and if anybody that's a police officer know that most people mess up when they drinking. Most people kill other people because they drunk and intoxicated. Okay, Donald keep denying it, so I guess he either don't want to do it or he don't have no good info. All right, let's put somebody else on. I want somebody that's a police officer that disagree with me because I just don't. I was on a SWAT team and I also was in a patrol, and we dealt with, I don't know how many people I proned out at gunpoint. I've lost count. I probably prone somebody out at gunpoint maybe once every 2 weeks. And then sometimes it's almost every day of the week. And an argument is not, okay, go ahead, sir. What's your name, Brett?
Brett.
Okay, hold on. Let me turn you up. I can't turn you up. 1 second. Let me take you off and do not disturb. Because I didn't want nobody calling me. I'm going to take you off. Hold on 1 second. All right. So we got that. I got the volume up. Brett, do you disagree with me? Do you disagree with me? Look, okay. Before you start, I just want to qualify this. Are you previous law enforcement?
No.
Okay. Tell me what you're thinking.
Okay. I mean, a regular citizen of the United States is not trained to have a gun in their face. You tell somebody their heart's racing just as like the cop is. And
I agree.
At this door, he's got two people yelling at him with a gun in their face. It's a freaking AR-15. And you're expecting this person who's under the same fear that you cops are to be able to act like you are when you've been trained to do that. And these people know to do that. And you have somebody with a gun in their face and you expect them to act like a normal person. Like just be able to listen.
I think, sir, but all due respect, I don't think that they expected them to act like a normal person. Neither did I when I pointed guns at people. What I expect you to do is follow simple directions. And I feel like that he put his hands behind his back several times when he shouldn't have. They did not shoot him. They told him, shut up and listen is what they said. They said, put your hands up and I want you to crawl to me. If you start to fall, you fall on your face. He followed the instructions. Now, if he just disobeyed the instruction the entire time, I would agree with you. He was crawling and following instructions. He was crawling and crawling until one point he abruptly stopped crawling, reached behind his back for whatever reason. To this day, none of us know what was he thinking. When the police officer told him, if you reach, like you can forget all instructions. The police officer said, if you reach behind your back again, we will shoot you. That's one instruction that you can remember. You can forget everything else.
He said, the guy is, one, he's drunk, and then he's full of fear just as much. And, you know, when you're not, under those conditions, you're not really going to be thinking all that clear. Like, even if you got that, somebody said that, he's probably more afraid. And you're just not going to be thinking that clear. I mean, yes.
So what do you want the police officer to do? What would you like for the police officer to do? You want them to not talk to you or let you free or let you go?
I mean, he's crawling down on his hands and knees, and I mean, he's crawling on his hands and feet, crying. You can hear in his voice. He's like, okay. Oh yeah,
That's fine.
and then
That's fine.
I mean, I read just on this story. I just watched the video a few hours ago, and somebody said it seemed like his pants were starting to fall down, and he just kind of was trying to pull his pants back up. I mean, this dude's
That
drunk.
may be the case, but the officer told him, if you start to fall on your face. Do not put your hands behind your back. Okay. Now I used to do this. Like I've had people at gunpoint who were scared. I've had women. I had young people at gunpoint who were scared to the point where their hands shaking like this. Now I understand that, but there's a certain level of it's not my fault. Okay. I'm telling you clearly, and I normally slow down and say, listen, I know you're afraid. Listen to what I'm telling you. You know, your next move could end your life. But at the same time, is there a better way to do these things? I agree to that. But I don't see how when you're crawling and you go to reach back abruptly that it don't necessitate a response. I mean, what are the police officers supposed to do? What if it was a gun?
I can't hear you right now.
Were they supposed to just get shot? I can't hear you. What you say?
My connection's messing up. It's all breaking up. I have Sprint.
All right, buddy. If you can hear me, I at least got your side of the story, and I think people heard what you had to say. So I'm gonna go to the next person. I appreciate you coming on. I respect what you had to do, and thank you. Okay. Let's see. I want somebody else to come on. I've tried. Okay. Let's see. And then we got to go to lunch, Echo. But I just really like. I want somebody to explain.
The drunk thing, about like the people are saying like, oh, he was drunk.
What if he was acting like he was drunk and he wasn't? I mean, I don't know. How do we?
Even if he was, my point is like, if that's your.
It doesn't matter if you're drunk. That's not my fault. You're drunk. That's not my fault. That's not my fault if you're drunk. That's your fault. I tell you instructions. You disobey these instructions. Then there's consequences. It's not my fault. I'm not the one that come here. You are doing stuff that necessitate police response. That's it. It's not my fault. All right. Whoever is on right now is not connecting. I don't know why. Some people connect, some people don't. Whoever's going on. Let's see. Somebody said, can I talk? Perez. It's like a person being drunk, that's his fault. That's not the police officer's fault. So I tried to request you, Perez, and you're not answering. I just don't understand. Like, there's personal responsibility. You shouldn't be pointing a rifle out of your hotel window to start with. Even if you drunk, it's cute and fun and games, and you're drunk, and they're just having fun. It's not funny. That's not fun. The people down there thought you were pointing a rifle at them. That ain't funny. That ain't cool. That ain't fun. Now you got bad boys. Now they on their way. Now it's a problem. George, you got through. I don't know. I didn't think you were the person I picked, but you in now. So do you disagree with me, George?
Well, can I ask you a question? Sir. No, I don't, because I'll tell you, I've been through many traffic stops, and one thing I learned is put my hands on the wheel. I'm also a concealed carry person, so I always tell them I have a weapon in the car. That sort of like makes him settles his nerves, and is usually moves on the way. And but the thing is like I say, follow the cop's instruction. If you want to fall on your face and stay on your face, because most cops I know, they don't really want to pull their firearm and shoot somebody. That's the last resort.
Right, because they go through this.
I'm just saying
this is why police don't want to kill people, because they go through this. Even if you're justified, you get ridiculed. I don't understand what they want the cops to do. If you're drunk, that's your fault. That's not the cops' fault. If you think you're going to pull your pants up, that is a fatal mistake on your part, not the police part. They told him explicitly, do not put your hands behind your back. He listened. They said, crawl towards me. He listened. And then all of a sudden, he reaches back Like, you're going to get a response. And it happened to be fatal for that kid. That's unfortunate for him. But it's not the police fault. That's not his fault.
I think the police officer that shot him, I think he's going to have to live with it for the rest of his life. And I really think he didn't really want to do it either.
He's going to.
Didn't take pleasure.
It's going to ruin his life. Now, I can't say that he took pleasure in it or not, but I think that I don't care who you are. You are a human being. When you kill another person, and the thing is that he had to sit in the courtroom and testify with this guy's parents watching the testimony. Now, you didn't kill their son. I guarantee you got to look them in the eye as the murderer of their son. It's not easy. He probably have those memories in his mind for the rest of his life. He'll never be a police officer again because they fired him because he had that thing on the can't think of the name, the ejection port. I forget what it's called, the ejection cover or something like that. He had that on the inside that said, "You're effed." It was his custom rifle. Some people had a problem with that. But anyway, I got your side. I'm going to get some more people on. I want people that disagree with me to come on. Then me and my buddy over here got to go to lunch. Thank you so much, George. I appreciate you coming on. Hey, whenever I'm live, try to come on again, man. I'd love to have you.
Thank you.
We got to get one person on here. I want somebody to disagree with me to have a legitimate argument. All right, we got one more person on. Joshua Franz.
Hurry up, I'm hungry.
Yeah, me too, man. We got to go to Filiberto's.
Filiberto's.
Get some Boros, okay?
Filiberto's.
Boros. That's how you say it in Spanish. Boros.
Burritos?
It's not burritos. It's Boros.
Burritos?
All right, so I'm trying to get people on. I guess it's not. Okay, we got a connection here. Hopefully. Okay. Joshua, I got two questions for you.
Yes,
One,
sir.
do you disagree?
Yeah,
Okay, wait. Okay, you disagree with me partially. Are you previous law enforcement?
No, I'm a Marine Corps veteran.
Okay, awesome. So you know what? You've dealt with guns. You may have killed somebody, or you've been in situations where you had a choice to kill or not to kill. So just to preface that, tell me what you disagree with.
So I understand the unknowns, variables that were in that situation where you didn't know if there was more people in the room. You didn't know if the suspect was armed or not. And he was calling the suspect to him. But what I see is that during that incident, the suspect, whether drunk, not, doesn't matter, he was making multiple mistakes. And each time he would try to quickly fix his mistakes because he was nervous. So that's where I have a little, like, I don't agree the cop shouldn't have been fired. The cop shouldn't do jail time for it. But I believe that there was a responsibility on the cop to de-escalate. There needed to be a de-escalation of force in that situation because of the fact that what I saw was a suspect making multiple mistakes because he was nervous. And so I don't think that lethal force was necessary in that situation. Now, I don't think the cop should.
So wait a minute. I understand that. So when he was crawling on the ground and he reached back,
yep.
What should the police officer have done?
I believe that there should have been, hey, get on the ground in that moment, like, yell at him again, because every time he made a mistake and then the police officer yelled at him to fix his mistake, he tried to fix his mistake. So in that moment, yell at him again, because it wasn't a quick, you could tell anybody who.
What if he had a gun?
Here's my take on it, right? If he was really reaching for a gun, it would have been a much quicker up, much different motion, Maybe true. I just think that there should have been a slight. I agree with you. That's why I said partially. I just don't think that lethal force was necessary in that moment. Give it one more shot. That's all I'm saying. I think there was enough time to where he had the gun on him. There was multiple people there. There was enough time to where he could have waited a split second more, still took the guy's life if there would have been necessary. It was necessary to do so. That's my take on it.
Right. And I do not disagree with you 100%. I think that when you look at these dynamic situations, and I'm not saying I'm every police officer in the country, but I have literally been in that same situation probably 20 times. And at some point, before you get there, before you get to the scene, you have to make the conscious decision in your mind that I'm prepared to kill somebody if I have to.
Understand that
You
completely.
have to make that decision up front. And so when you get there, depending on who you are, depending on your previous experience, depending on if you've been exposed to killing somebody or not, you get a different picture in your mind than other people. So that guy, the one who shot him, may have been in multiple shootings or something like that, where he has this mental picture in his mind of this situation that occurred in the past cannot occur again. I'm going to take action because he gave somebody a chance. I'm saying potentially. He gave somebody a chance and the guy pulled a gun on him. So his temperament is very, very short in comparison to another person who's never been involved in that. So what I'm saying is that the way that this could be alleviated, and I agree with you 100%, I think they could have used different tactics. Like I question why they didn't have less lethal available, why they didn't have K9 available, why they didn't have other components available. Now, I cannot armchair quarterback and say they were wrong and they should have, because I don't know if those things were even available at the time. It appears that this was a tactical team. It really didn't appear that this was like some officers coming out with souped up AR-15s. It appeared that this was a tactical unit because they were doing a lot of coordination that didn't appear to be consistent with regular law enforcement, not unless they just had a really good tactical squad together and they made it happen. But supposedly the sergeant who retired was the sergeant of that contingency. He's the one that gave commands. The other guy's the one that shot him. So what I would say in that circumstance is just saying that people view it differently. So maybe the officer with the gun was viewing him as this guy is BSing around and he's trying to find an opportunity to actually grab the gun.
And I understand.
There is no reason to pursue.
My one thing, and this is where I did disagree with you earlier, what you just said about, being unaware if there was less lethal tactics available in that situation. That was where I was going with that. That's where my mind was going. Okay, what was available? And we don't know. And so I tend to agree with you now that I'm talking with you. I tend to agree with you more than I did earlier, simply because I just question if lethal force was truly necessary. Now, I don't question that the cop at the end of the day has to make that decision ahead of time. As you were saying, he has to be able to go home at night. He has to do what's necessary. He has to have that mentality. Otherwise, hesitation kills. Law enforcement, military, hesitation kills. So right. I understand that, but I just feel like there could have been different tactics used in that situation, and then that young man would still be alive today.
I agree. And when I agree with you 100%, but I agree with you on two things. There could have been, I don't know if it was available, I would like to have seen different tactics used. I would have liked to see this kid cooperate. Like, there's two sides to the coin. If he would have cooperated, the tactics would have made it. It would have made it through. Nobody would have got hurt. Because the young lady obviously did what she was supposed to do. They did the same thing with her. They called her out. They gave her instructions. She was drinking too. She may have been drunk as well. And then they got her there safely. For some reason, this guy was acting much bizarrer than she was. And so I agree with you. I would have liked to have seen them slow it down. They had cover on the door. If somebody come out shooting and that guy's in the middle of it, that's on them.
Yeah,
they're going to have to return fire. If that guy gets shot up in the middle of that, that's not the police fault. That's him. That's their buddies in the room. That's all their fault. So what I would like to see them slow down. They got the girl. Let him stay face down until you can get less lethal and all these other contingencies, just in case he get up with a knife or he get up with he was a good enough distance. If he just don't cooperate. Because what I've learned in police is when I was a police officer is that you have to be ready for if the guy don't have a knife, he don't have a gun, and he don't cooperate, what do you do? I had a scenario that happened to me. It was a guy who was like 6'8". He supposedly robbed the store. His friend cooperated. He was being belligerent. Now, he came at us with open hands. We have him at gunpoint. He came with open hands and he wouldn't stop. Now, clearly he's not reaching for a gun. I can visibly see he don't have a gun. At some point, we got to be ready to go hands-on and put our guns away. Because if you get caught fighting with a gun in your hand, you're going to have to either use it or it can be used against you. So I remember vividly, we telling him to turn around. He turned around, he had his hands up, but he wasn't following instructions. So I holstered my gun and I literally ran up and I tackled him from the back. And that was a tactic that you have to be thinking about. What if he don't comply with no weapons? This little guy could have got beat up in the hallway by all of those officers. There's no way he could have physically beat anybody. Now, I think that I wish that I was seeing them take the precautionary measure to say, let's slow down. If he don't cooperate, if these people don't cooperate and they have no weapons, we need to have less lethal available. We need to have K9 available. Therefore, we can take action. So you don't have to kill the guy. That's what I would have liked to have seen. We do that in the Tucson Police Department. We don't go en route to a call without notifying, is less lethal available? Do you have a flex available? Do we have K9 available? We put that over the air. So at any point in time there's a shooting that occurred, we go to court, they're going to be able to hear that we requested for K9, we requested for air support unit, we requested for less lethal ammunition, we requested for pepper ball, or where we have the shotgun beanbag. We requested all of that. And then the sergeant can come on and say, those things are not available at the time. So when we go and we shoot somebody like they did, we can say nothing was available. We attempted to mitigate the situation by requesting less lethal force. We are then interjecting into a situation where we cannot wait. There's a level of exigency. This guy was supposedly pointing a rifle out of his window and people at the pool saw him. That is a level of exigency because they don't know if this guy is going to do a mass shooting. They don't know if this guy is a wanted felon and he's going to start shooting police out. They have no idea. So they have to contain the threat with a reasonable amount of force necessary. So I appreciate you coming on, man. Thank you for the respectful talk. Hey, simplify. That's how you do it?
Simplify.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you for your service, my man. All right, we'll talk to you later. All right. So I think we had a good amount of people on. I'm glad you guys stay tuned. Me and my boy over here got to get lunch. But we are going to address this in detail. We're going to play the video. We're going to do an analysis of the shooting. We're going to walk through a little bit more of the background to the story on the live show today at 4:30 on Facebook. It will be live. We're going to also talk about Roy Moore and this lady who lied about this yearbook thing. It is a lie. She admitted that she wrote notes. She has literally admitted that a document that she is utilizing for evidence is now null and void because you cannot write on a document that you say is an original. If she went to court and this was a criminal allegation, that will be suppressed in court, period. She had admitted to doctoring a document. Her story is BS. Please, y'all, if you're watching this, join the show tonight at 4:30. It's going to be on. We will give you a reminder. Thank you all for coming on. I appreciate it. Love and respect the dialogue. Please be respectful as I leave this thread. If you disagree with me, I would love to have a conversation with you. I do not do the texting and writing stuff because I cannot write as fast as I can talk. So if we need to do a analysis 2.0, I'll make another video and I'll put more people on. But right now I have to go to lunch. Love y'all. Y'all be safe. And appreciate everybody for your service. Thank you for all the law enforcement. And I appreciate all y'all for watching. Peace.